Today, you're going to learn English through story to help you improve all areas of your English at the same time. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. Our story today is called Bob's Misadventures at Work. Do you know what a misadventure is? A misadventure means bad luck or an experience with a bad result. For example, you could say our vacation quickly turned into a misadventure. Now let's start our story and learn about Bob's misadventures at work. Bob was thrilled when he landed a job at Tech Solutions, but his first day was a disaster. He spilled coffee on his boss's desk, and her stern look made him realize he was in trouble. So we already know that Bob has some bad luck. This is a misadventure. Now notice here, landed. Bob landed. This means to get. In the past, of course, got. So you can think of it as received. We commonly use this with jobs. I landed the job. I'm thrilled. So notice Bob was thrilled. To be thrilled, and then you conjugate your verb. And if you're thrilled, this means you're extremely happy. Other alternatives, you could say Bob was very happy. It sounds less than thrilled. Or you could say ecstatic, which sounds about the same or even more. Over the moon, that's a fun idiom that means very happy. On cloud nine, you could say Bob was beyond happy, or you could say Bob was jumping for joy. Now let's look at this sentence structure. Bob was thrilled when he landed a job. The model here is I or someone, was our verb to be in the past, and then any adjective. I was thrilled when, and then you need a past simple clause. A clause is a subject, a verb, and an object. For example, I was thrilled or I was ecstatic over the moon when my student told me he passed the IELTS. Or you could say, I was thrilled when Jennifer responded to my comment. This is a great structure to practice, and I have a free lesson PDF that summarizes everything to help you practice. You can find the link in the description. Let's continue on and notice this important word, but. This is used as a contrasting point because we have thrilled, which is extremely happy, but then we have disaster, which is negative. So but helps you transition. Now let's look at to be a disaster. Notice that verb to be and then a disaster. We use this to say to go very wrong, resulting in problems or failures. You can say it was, it being the situation, my first day at work, it was a disaster. You could sound even stronger and say catastrophe. Repeat after me, catastrophe. Or you could say it was a debacle. It was a train wreck. That's a very common one. It was a nightmare. All of those are alternatives. And why was it a disaster for poor Bob? Because he spilled coffee on his boss's desk. Here, spilled is a verb. I accidentally spilled my coffee. Now you can also use it as a noun. Here's a rag to clean up your spill. So this functions as a noun. You can also use it as an adjective. Here's a rag to clean up your spilled coffee. So spilled modifies coffee. It's an adjective. And notice stern. His boss's stern look. Stern. This means serious, strict, or firm. So you could say, my boss is stern. Or my boss always has a stern expression. So you can use it to describe someone's expression, or you can describe the person. And notice our pronoun and possessive agreement. He spilled his coffee. The coffee belongs to Bob on his boss's desk. The desk belongs to the boss, but who does the boss belong to? Bob. That's why it's his boss's desk. You could say he spilled his coffee on her desk because the desk belongs to the boss, which is female, her desk. Let's continue our story. Determined to make up for it, Bob worked late to finish a report, only to discover it was due 2 days earlier. He felt like he'd really dropped the ball. Let's review determined to make up for it. This is an adverbial phrase. It modifies the main clause, which is the main sentence. Determined, this is a past participle. It describes Bob's state of mind at that time. You could say Bob was determined to make up for it, so he worked late to finish the report. You could also say Bob worked late to finish the report because he was determined to make up for it. Now let's review to make up for something. This is very commonly used because it means to right a wrong, to rectify a mistake. You could say to your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, I'm so sorry, I forgot our anniversary. I promise I'll make up for it. I'll right this wrong. I'll rectify this mistake. You could also say, I'm so sorry I forgot our anniversary. I promise I'll make it up to you. Notice the slight variation. Here it's to make something up to someone. Same meaning, to rectify a mistake, to right a wrong. Now let's look at to drop the ball. This is a very common idiom. It means to make a mistake, but because you failed to take action. For example, I asked you to book the reservation a month ago, and now there's no availability because you failed to take action. So you can say, I know, I dropped the ball. You're admitting that you failed to take action. I know I dropped the ball. I'm so sorry. I promise I'll make it up to you. I'll right this wrong. Let's continue the story. Still, he didn't throw in the towel. He volunteered to give a presentation. But on the day of the presentation, he accidentally broke the projector and didn't have a hard copy of the presentation. Notice another idiom, to throw in the towel. Do you know what that means? If you throw in the towel, it means you give up, you accept defeat. Learning English can be difficult at times, but I'm not going to throw in the towel, right? You can say, I'm going to stick with it. If you stick with something, the it being learning English, it means you continue doing something difficult. And that describes you, right? You're going to stick with it. You're not going to throw in the towel. If that describes you, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. Let's look at he volunteered to give a presentation. Of course, you can say I'm a volunteer. This is a noun form. I'm a volunteer. You can say every Saturday I volunteer. That's the verb. I volunteer at a local animal shelter. Now let's say in the workplace, like in Bob's situation, your boss says, who has time to pick up the client from the airport? And you say, I can do it. In this case, you volunteered to do it. So volunteered is a verb in the past simple. You volunteered to do it. So if you volunteer in the workplace, it means you complete extra duties without compensation. Let's keep going with our story. Hoping for a fresh start, Bob brought donuts to the office. But after getting stuck in traffic, he arrived late. As he passed them out, he tripped and spilled coffee again. His boss, half amused, said, maybe this is a sign you should give up your coffee habit. Let's review hoping for a fresh start. This is a participle phrase. It explains why Bob did the action. Now, a fresh start, this is an opportunity to begin again. We commonly refer to events such as New Year's, birthdays, new jobs, new relationships, even new locations as a fresh start. It's an opportunity for you to begin again. Let's look at, but after getting stuck in traffic, he arrived late. So when Bob got to work, he could say, sorry, I'm late. I was stuck in traffic. So notice here, it's to be, the verb to be stuck in traffic. The verb to be describes your current state. I was, at that time, stuck in traffic. Now, you could also say, I hope we don't get stuck in traffic. So using the verb get to get stuck in traffic, this is the transition from not stuck to stuck. Now let's look at as he passed them out. To pass or to hand something out means to distribute to a group. Of course, the teacher passed out the practice exercises, but you can use this in other situations. The store handed out coupons, distributed coupons to the customers. As he passed them out, he tripped and spilled coffee again. Poor Bob. So trip, this is when you catch your foot on an object. Compare that to slip. When you slip, you slide on a slippery surface. You could say, I tripped on the rock, but I regained my balance. So if you regained your balance, it sounds like you didn't fall. Let's look at his boss, half amused. Half amused. This describes a mixed reaction. So partially amused, which is another way of saying entertained, but not entirely. So also partially the opposite emotion, which could be annoyed or upset because he spilled another coffee. So the boss could say, if you spill another coffee, you're fired. Ooh, you're fired. And I'm only half joking. We use this a lot to say I'm half joking. This means I'm partially serious, but partially joking. I'm half joking. So now that you understand all the vocabulary, let's read the story from start to finish. Bob's misadventures at work. Bob was thrilled when he landed a job at Tech Solutions, but his first day was a disaster. He spilled coffee on his boss's desk, and her stern look made him realize he was in trouble. Determined to make up for it, Bob worked late to finish a report, only to discover it was due 2 days earlier. He felt like he'd really dropped the ball. Still, he didn't throw in the towel. He volunteered to give a presentation. But on the day of the presentation, he accidentally broke the projector and didn't have a hard copy of the presentation. Hoping for a fresh start, Bob brought donuts to the office. But after getting stuck in traffic, he arrived late. As he passed them out, he tripped and spilled coffee again. His boss, half amused, said, "Maybe this is a sign you should give up your coffee habit." Do you want me to make another lesson where we learn English through story? If you do, put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And you can keep expanding your vocabulary with this lesson right now.